Okay, great. Welcome everybody to the uh, February 2026 meeting of the Multimodal Accessibility Advisory Council. I'm Karthik Balasubramanian. We generally start with a set of introductions. So I'm Karthik Balasubramanian. I live in Ward 6 and work in Ward 1. And I'm the chair of this council, which focuses on giving people um, uh, who have disabilities a voice in our transportation network and system. I have an eye condition called macular degeneration that puts me in the majority of people who have disabilities who cannot and do not drive. So yeah, that's me. I'll pass it over to Kelly.
Hi there. Hello, Kelly Mack, and I live in DC, Ward 3, and I also have a long-term disability. I've been a power wheelchair user since I was a little small person, and so I get around with my wheelchair. And I will pass it over to Matt.
Hi everyone, my name is Matthew Gosbach. I am a DC resident as well in Ward 5. I am deaf and yeah, thank you. I'll pass it to whoever's next.
Zach, do you want to jump in here?
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is Zach Smith, District Department of Transportation and liaison to the MAAC. Let me see. I will pass it to Ashton.
There is. Oh, she's on.
Okay. What about Mariana?
Mariana is one of our interpreters.
Okay.
We can Sandy or
Sandy.
Sarah. Yeah.
How about Sandy?
Okay, hi, I'm Sandy Newsell. I'm part of the Accessibility Advisory Committee at WMAACDC.
Fantastic. Welcome, Sandy.
Thanks.
Hi, and this is Sarah. I am also from the Accessibility Advisory Committee for WMAACDC. I live in Alexandria, and I am legally blind.
Great, thanks, Sarah. Do we have anyone else? We've got everybody. Okay, great. Well, welcome everybody. So we'll just jump straight into our agenda, which you can find on maacdc.link/agenda. Maybe Neo, you can pop that in the chat. But our first order of business is to talk about DDOT bus priority monthly standing update. That's our hope, kind of as a reminder for new folks. DDOT has a bus priority plan, and what we're hoping to do is get a standing meeting or a standing update and possibly a quarterly meeting with the bus priority team, much like the Bicycle Advisory Committee or Bicycle Advisory Council, one of our sister councils gets from the DDOT Active Transportation Branch. This is specifically just so that we can have a good idea of where bus priority projects stand, so that we can serve as a purveyor of hopefully good news to folks who are following bus priority projects around the district. So yeah, Zach, can you give us an update? You may be on mute, Zach.
Okay, let me sorry about that. So let me share here. I'm sharing my screen for those who can see it. So this is the document that we developed just to show some of the projects and where they are.
Yep.
First, I just wanted to make sure that this is something that you all were looking for, and maybe that there's enough description for it.
Yep.
I could walk through some of these projects. I'm not the project manager, and I've invited the bus priority team to join a future meeting, and hopefully they can. But we have about 9 projects that are in the pipeline from various stages, from conceptual planning and development to design and construction, ranging from this year to a little bit further out to fiscal year 2028. I'll start with some of the most active, shall we say. So 8th Street Southeast. We presented a design concept and actually selected one, and we anticipate starting construction in the spring of 2026. This will be from East Capitol Street to M Street Southeast. 8th Street Northeast is also under construction, with a couple of mid-block crossings, some daylighting, and bus stop bulb outs. I did want to relay that with the new RFK Stadium coming online in a couple years, that will be other considerations about this corridor in particular, and how we get crosstown from the stadium to downtown. Then U Street, we have the conceptual development planning. These are some of the ideas and the concepts that the bus priority team would like to see. Some of the goals include making it a complete street, just improving bus operations and safety, accommodating some pickup drop-off needs, but nothing's been fleshed out with that particular location as of yet. Georgia Avenue Northwest has been under consideration for a while. There's been a lot of conversations and presentations up and down the corridor from the bus priority team that date back, I believe, to 2024. This is a major corridor from Berry Place to Eastern Avenue, where we want to see 24-hour bus lanes throughout the corridor, bus bulb outs at bus stops, and then some rebalancing of those bus stops. It's in the design phase now and hoping to start construction within the next couple of fiscal years. Minnesota Avenue Southeast is in the design phase. This project will include some stop rebalancing, traffic calming along the major corridors with Minnesota Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue to MLK, as well as some queue jumps here. Expected to start construction in that fiscal year 2027. Columbia Road, same case. This is in the planning stage. Ideally, it will add some protected bike lanes, improve bus boarding platforms, and add center running northeastbound bus lane as well. Let's see, 14th Street Northwest will improve the bike lane and make it a protected bike lane along this section of 14th Street from Newton Street to Arkansas Avenue. Again, hoping to start construction in fiscal year 2027. MLK Junior Avenue Southeast, this is in the conceptual development planning stage. We don't know the specific treatments, but we are doing a traffic analysis, and a final concept is anticipated in the middle of 2026. And then 14th Street Northwest, concept planning. We don't know the specific treatments, but it's intended to improve bus operations and reliability from that Thomas Circle to Euclid Street Northwest.
Cool. So I think this is a good start.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the format is, I think, almost there. There are a few comments that I have, and other folks, if you can kind of jump in. One, if we can note the project limits. So like basically if we say Georgia Ave, like it's running from, actually I think I know, it's running from Berry to Western, I think. I don't like, but basically it's from where to where is it running. I think the mileage is also something that would be useful. So like just like one more column that says this is how long this corridor is that we're looking at. This isn't relevant for this time, but basically for all future updates, if you can put anything new in red, like basically this is how I think this actually works really well for the Bicycle Advisory Council, is that way like we can see, okay, this thing, like this particular project moved up or this
Yep.
change phase or whatever.
Okay.
And I think also there's some missing projects, like Florida Ave, for example, is missing. So like, I don't know, ideally we can have the 51, like the whole list of 51.
Okay.
And basically, and then, obviously there's like a bunch that are not even like moving at all, but just put those at the bottom and just say no update. But then
Okay.
everything else is just like in some phase. And then the last piece of thing is, if we can have like the percent design, that would be great. That would just that gives us kind of a good idea of where in design it is.
Okay.
That would be good. But but I think this is a great start. This is like exactly what I think is like super useful. Now we can say, boom, like, this is not off track. Like, this is when it's going to happen. And does that all make sense? Or do you think there would be any like people would feel good about that?
I think that sounds fine.
Yeah.
I'll say there are probably more that aren't in progress right now than there are actually in progress. But yes,
That's fine. That's
sounds
fine. Just basically, like, this is what I'm hoping is it's a source of truth that like we can, even if there's no action, now we can just say like, okay, this is the latest update, and this update is up to date as of this month.
Okay.
So that would be very useful.
Sure.
And then also, like, is there any update? Because I've seen little pieces about a rapid connection from Union Station to the stadium. Is can that be included in here as well? I've actually not even, I've just like heard like, like a sentence or two it's referred to in like small places, but I haven't seen anything on it.
I can check with the team. I'll say it is something that we're looking at doing. I think the idea of like a crosstown sort of bus network or crosstown transit has always been sort of an idea. Whether there's anything concrete that we're able to share, I can find out.
Cool, great. Thanks, Zach. So actually, for our friends from AAC, this is, and actually kind of very welcome to, you're very welcome to comment here as well. And I'm excited to like really dig in with you guys about not just bus priority, but just in general. We have a kind of a lot of overlapping interests. Our goal is basically to help folks with disabilities move around the district in a reliable, safe, and accessible way. And yeah, this is one, given the bus is such a huge part of movement, especially because it's the most efficient and accessible vehicle for folks with disabilities. We really want to, we've had our bus, our mass transit branch present to us on a number of occasions, and we're hoping to kind of solidify kind of an update schedule. So this document that will come out ideally every month, and then also if the bus priority team can join us, so we can continue like a kind of a scheduled regular discussion. But yeah, but I think this will also be a useful, something useful for AAC to kind of understand where the district is doing bus priority projects.
Hey, Karthik, I have a question, and that is there any information that the planners can share about if they've had local resident input from residents with disabilities? Because I'm wondering, as I remember, I think them previously saying that they have community meetings, and if they work with people with disabilities who take those routes, it would be helpful to know. And if not, maybe that's something that our group can supplement or connect them to that kind of feedback.
Totally. I mean, I think that's going to be like a really great opportunity for us. Ideally, every quarter, if we have them, like that's like kind of a very structured way that we can provide them feedback on bus priority projects. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Matthew or anyone else, any other kind of thoughts or comments on this structure of updates or anything else that you wanted to raise around DDOT bus priority?
Some of the pressures.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Zach. So then next, I wanted to move quickly on. I think we've got a great opportunity to kind of build out our structure a little bit more by electing a treasurer. We are allotted $10,000 each year, each fiscal year, to conduct our business, and I think there are some opportunities to augment our work by spending some money in a kind of in a structured, high impact way. And in order to do that, I think we could have a treasurer in place that can kind of start thinking about how we manage our money. So I would like to make a motion to nominate Matthew as our treasurer. Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, so then we do have quorum. Sharon's not here. We do have 2 additional seats as well that are unfilled. So by a vote of 2 or 3, that will be able to convert, that will be able to confirm Matthew as our treasurer. So our motion has been made and seconded. So I'll call the vote. All in favor of making Matthew our new MAAC treasurer, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Matthew?
Hi.
Perfect. Great. Well, fantastic. Welcome and congratulations on your new role, Matthew, our new MAAC treasurer. So with that, I think we can just quickly go through our January minutes, approve them, and then jump into our major discussion point, our discussion with WMATA, with our friends from the AAC at WMATA, and kind of see what they do. We can talk about what we do, and then maybe see if there's a path forward for us to collaborate on things. So I'm going to very quickly, before we get into that discussion, I just want to share my screen and look at our January minutes. So our January minutes are here. So if we can just do a quick, I'll just do a quick summary of what we went through and what we did, and then if we can vote on that. Our January guest was the chief engineer of DDOT, and also the new deputy director of DDOT. They were here to present their new tool called the Multimodal Measures of Effectiveness tool. And what this tool is designed to do is to take into account all road users in planning and designing new streetscape projects. This is in response to a lot of feedback that DDOT has gotten over the years, that they're too car focused or exclusively car focused in their measurements and looking at car throughput and speed rather than actually the throughput of people. So the MET has a lot of scoring, a lot of non-car elements to their scoring. I'll leave you to the minutes. I think do a pretty good job of talking about how they came up with this tool. We gave them a lot of feedback on our priorities, starting with our principles for arterial street space usage, and also just kind of generally, our prioritization of and interest in bus priority projects. We presented our principles. Maybe Nao, if you can drop those principles in the maacdc.link/principles in the chat for our guests. Please check those out. Basically, it's just basically a document that shows what we think is important. Notably, bus priority or bus lanes are super high on that list only after wide and connected sidewalks. Yes, also we presented something that we had heard on a DDOT presentation about road diets not qualifying after or requiring significant review after 30 seconds. They said that this is kind of a mentality that they're trying to change among engineers. We also brought up intersection safety and left turns, especially on arterials, being dangerous and inefficient. We talked about through traffic in downtown and how that limits vitality and also decreases safety. In general, I think people, both our friends from DDOT were supportive and receptive to our feedback. Yes, we brought up the DDOT bus priority monthly updates, of which we got our first today, which was great. And then we reviewed and approved our previous meeting minutes, and then also we followed up. We have a follow-up with DPW. Kelly can give an update on a testimony that she'll provide tomorrow, I think, actually. And then also our engagement with the Department of For-Hire Vehicles as well. We talked about the opportunity to provide feedback at the performance oversight hearings. So we will do that for DPW, and actually as an update, we will do that for DDOT as well. We just heard from Kevin Whitfield at Councilmember Allen's office that we'll be providing feedback on DDOT on February 18th. This is our performance oversight opportunity. Talked about MAAC officer elections, and we now have an officer. And then future meeting invitations, a tentative plan to invite the DDOT director, the DDOT curbside management director or manager, DPW director again, and DFHB director as well. And also, this is actually in response to Matthew's suggestion that we invite representatives from WMATA. So this is kind of our opportunity to talk about accessibility with our friends from AAC. Yes, we talked about curbside management, ADA pickup drop-off zones. This is why we want someone from DDOT's curbside management, ideally the deputy director or manager, whoever's in charge of curbside management. We talked about AVs. We sent a letter about AVs and also we should this is something that we flagged for continued discussion. We also talked about community outreach and collaboration. That's something that I hope to talk about today as well. We have 2 additional seats, but even more than that, I think it would be fantastic to get more involvement and engagement from people around the district at our meetings. And that was our January meeting. So I will make a motion to approve those January minutes. So I'll make a motion to approve that, approve the January minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. All in favor of approving our January minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. So now I think we can go ahead and shift into our discussion of of WMATA in general. And so maybe Sandy and Sarah, you guys can give us a kind of an overview of kind of what y'all's priorities are and kind of what you're kind of thinking and hoping about doing. And then I think we, or maybe before that, I can just give you a quick overview of what we do. You have a little bit of a taste from our January meeting, but we specifically, our major kind of leverage point is with obviously just within the district, so that's a little bit different, but then also specifically around you know, inviting agency heads, so particularly DDOT, DPW. DDOT is our District Department of Transportation, who's in charge of all of our streets and or most of our streets, and specifically bus lanes. No metro rail oversight, but that's why we kind of particularly focus on bus lanes. And also DPW, Department of Public Works, they clear and actually clear roads, but not sidewalks in general, which is a point of major contention for us. And then Department of For-Hire Vehicles is also kind of another agency that we interface with in a kind of decent frequency. And yes, and DDOT in kind of a number of their sub branches. So not just bus lanes, but also DDOT safety, their Vision Zero office, curbside management. So basically pickup and drop off zones and parking, their engineering team, kind of various people in branches and functions within DDOT. So yeah, that's what we do. But AAC would love, Sarah and Sandy, it would be lovely to hear about what y'all are working on.
This is Sarah, and I'll start off. First, I should apologize up front. Sandy and I were both planning to sort of listen into the background and kind of get a feel for what you guys do, and did not come prepared to make any marks specifically on behalf of AAC or anything. That said, happy to talk about sort of what we do, how we're organized, and then where the sort of most obvious points of overlap are. So we have 3 different meetings a month. The first Monday of the month, we have the entire AAC meet. The second Monday of the month, we have our bus and rail subcommittee meeting, and that is probably where we would see all or at least most of the overlap with what you guys are working on. And then the third Monday of the month, we have our Metro Access subcommittee meeting. And so, and I hate to say, I personally ride Metro Access or the rails. I hardly ever use the buses. So when you guys were running down that list, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be any help to you on this. Obviously, we do try to keep track of things like that. And the bus lanes, bus routes, that sort of thing has obviously been a big focus of our attention over the last year or so with a better bus network. And we're constantly working with WMATA on improving how the buses run. A couple things we've been working on lately, only some of which are relevant to you guys. I believe Tino had shared some information. We're looking at sort of revamping some of the recertification process for Metro Access. Again, not really terribly relevant to what you guys are working on, but it has been a big project of ours. The other big thing, which actually Sandy has been the lead on, so I'll let her talk more. We've been working on signage, some for the bus stations, for the new bus flags, but also a lot of focus on the rail stations. We've been trying to improve bus support, bus networks out in PG County. Again, also sort of falls outside of your turf there. But in general, anything that's going to affect the disabled community or the elderly and the use of WMATA is of interest to us. So pretty much a lot of what you do is going to be of some interest to what we're doing. And we don't really get to talk directly to DOT and the DC government pieces of it. So that's fascinating for us. I mean, we hear from WMATA a lot.
Mhm.
and their version of what, we kind of get it relayed to us in a different way, but not directly from them. So that's good. The other thing that I think you just alluded to, the sidewalks, especially in the last couple of weeks, I think that's been a real issue for everybody in the region, and the realization of how much difficulty we can get into trying to clear sidewalks and streets when you've got a snowstorm and these sort of overlapping responsibilities or underlapping responsibilities.
Mhm. Yep.
So that's something we've talked about in our last several meetings. This has been a crazy storm. I grew up in this area and I've never seen anything like it. So we know that it's an outlier, but on the other hand, like, are there things we can learn from this to try to make things better? And with that, I will see if Sandy wants to comment more on our signage projects.
Hi, this is Sandy Newsell, and I didn't introduce myself maybe fully. I live out in Reston, Virginia. I ride a few buses out in Fairfax County. I've very rarely ridden any buses in DC. I'm a Metro Rail rider and a Metro Access rider, and like Sarah, I'm legally blind. So that's where I'm coming from. So I'll add on to everything Sarah said. I just have a few things to add to it. We have had presentations about bus lanes out in Montgomery County, and we've been trying to get a presentation for our bus and rail subcommittee about bus lanes in DC. And it's been a point of contention that for users with riders with disability, bike lanes and bus islands are a sore point in terms of how easy is it to get a wheelchair out to that bus island? How does a visually impaired or blind person know that there's a bus island, that you don't stand here on the sidewalk? The pickup and drop off locations, and I don't know if that was referring to buses or transport like Metro Access. The pickup and drop off locations for Metro Access has been a sort of a big point of discussion, but that's more on the abilities ride part of Metro Access rather than the Metro Access vans and cars. They are trained to drop people off and walk people to the door, whereas the abilities ride Ubers and taxis, it's not their responsibility to do that, and they often drop people off at a very inconvenient, incorrect location and say, "We're here, you're here, get out and walk, get out and go." And it's been a sore point. On signage, yes, we've been working really hard with WMATA on signage within the Metro Rail system, and there will be an opportunity for the public to comment on signage as they put it up, because as hard as they try to get it just right, it may not make sense to people and they'll need input. And I think we could be sure to share that opportunity, or the location with you when it's up and ready for comment. It's going to be L'Enfant Plaza Metro Station, but signage at bus stops is also a big part of the discussion for Metro, because they want to revamp their signage at bus stops, and bus stops overlap, but WMATA bus routes and DC bus routes and Montgomery County bus routes, they all overlap. And so through the DMV Moves group, there is some thought that it really would behoove everybody to have logical, readable, concise signage, especially where a bus stop serves more than one provider. Okay, so the bus signage is, the bus flags at bus stops are, for Metro buses, are in consideration, but it'll probably be a year or so before they get really far along. although WMATA does surprise me from time to time when suddenly you've been hearing about it for a while and suddenly it's like a done deal. But again, hopefully there will be cooperation and collaboration between Metro and DC on bus stop signage. Sidewalks, yes, wide sidewalks, and sidewalks with this is me speaking because Metro doesn't have any control over it, but perhaps you guys do. People leaving scooters and bicycles laying around on the sidewalk are a real trip hazard for people with disabilities who can't see very well. I wish there was a way to enforce riders not just dropping their scooter and going. I think that covers what the notes that I was jotting down while you were talking and while Sarah was talking. But I mean, these are issues we're working on. If you know a way to get DDOT to speak to the bus rail subcommittee about bus islands, that'd be great.
Yeah, or invite us, let us know specifically when they're coming.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get some of our bus rail subcommittee to tune into your meeting so they don't have to do it again a second time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because we do have some people that are really big bus riders, and it would, would have understood all of the things that were said at the beginning of this meeting that I was barely following. And one of the things we've also talked about just the bus, as Sandy was saying, we've gotten a couple of briefings on designing bus islands and designing bus stops and talking about different kind of signage, including electronic signage that someday will be coming to the bus stops and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing concrete on that score.
Oh, and another bus thing that is not concrete at all, very futuristic, barely just starting to talk about it. Using something like a Navi lens for bus signage, routes, and next available bus information, but very, 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 very brief mention of it. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. But if it does, is that something that you all are interested in or
We're interested in everything that makes transportation, and specifically mass transit, more accessible to folks. So absolutely.
Oh, one more thought. This is Sarah jumping back in. Have you guys seen the survey that is going around from the RAC? It's not us. It's not the AAC. It's our counterparts. But they have do a survey every year, which you're probably aware of, looking for input from Metro riders, Metro Rail, Metro Bus, and they do a really good job of putting together lots of detailed feedback for WMATA every year, and it is currently circulating.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, actually, I haven't seen it.
Okay, we'll make sure we get you a link to that then you can share around as well. And I will say, just as a warning, I cannot read any of whatever's going on in the chat. So if you're trying to send messages, I am not reading them.
likewise?
Kelly, I'm guilty of it. I shared a story that you may have seen from WAMU today about snow clearance problems in DC and the impacts on disabled people. It included myself and another person who is blind. And so it had a really good perspective, I think. Of course, I'm biased about the issues.
I'm objective. It was fantastic.
Yeah. And, the other thing I wrote in was that information sharing between our groups would be great to help facilitate our shared goals. And I also have a question for you about signage. And I know Matthew here is really interested in signage, but one of my never-ending frustrations as a wheelchair user is getting to a metro stop and the elevator's been broken for who knows how long, and it's neither listed on the website nor is a sign posted. And that to me seems like such an easy fix, and yet it's, going on 20, I'm looking at my watch, going on 25 years, and this has been a problem. And so
Yes.
I'm wondering if that's part of the signage issue, because I think there's a relay issue with the website, but getting a sign up on both ends of all elevators, I wonder how doable that is and if that's in discussion.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I actually raised that at the meeting last week.
Oh, thank you.
So both of my kids are wheelchair users, so I'm very sensitive to that problem too.
Mhm.
And we've been talking about, well, how on earth do we do that? Because, again, you roll up to the station only to find out that the elevator is not working. And sure, it would have been nice to know before you left home, but still better than having to then go find somebody to figure out where's the shuttle or where's the next stop and how do I,
Yeah.
where do I go from here? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes the intercoms don't even work, or
Yep.
the person doesn't, and you know the whole drill. So
I get texts at least once a month from one of my kids with a story about something that has gone wrong. So yeah, I'm so
they could
sorry.
be
Right,
spending
it is
their-
on the radar.
yeah, they could be spending their time in other ways. But what about like an iPad system or something? Anyway.
Yeah, I'd
So-
love to talk about that more. Yes, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Sandy. I want to jump in again. Yes, the snow removal has come up amongst the AAC members. And, WMATA does have to be clear that their responsibility, the footprint that they are responsible for clearing is right around each metro station and the bus terminals or bus bays at WMATA stations, but they are not responsible for any of the locations, the bus flag stops in between. So that's a topic of discussion and understanding responsibility. And like Sarah said, lessons learned. How can we do a better job next time of getting things cleared? And the elevator issue, when the elevators are out, yes, supposedly they have it up on their website, but I'm not an elevator user, so I'm not looking at the websites all the time, but we hear about elevator issues frequently. And
Yeah.
also the question is, okay, so as you roll into a station on a train, you've come from somewhere and you want to get off at station X. And when you get out, you find out that, oh, the elevator's not working here. Is there a way to put up signage at other stations to let you know which stations are out? And Sarah and I gave them a suggestion the other day, which hopefully can be implemented at some point, so that as you're on the digital signage, you could have live information on the platforms so that you would know if there is an elevator outage on at future stops along your route, so that you could avoid getting out at a station where there's an elevator outage. But this is early discussions that Sarah and I have been making suggestions. The topic has been live for a long time.
Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for clarifying about WMATA and snow clearance. I'd seen that before, and I'll just say for my own street, when I was making repeated complaints to DPW and my local my council member about the snow clearance and the bus stops being blocked from boarding or exiting a bus, I was told variously DPW would be clearing, DDOT would be clearing, and I can say at day 15, I think we are, no one has cleared.
Yeah.
So, the sidewalk at the stop is nice and beautiful, but there's like a 3-foot mound between the road or a bus and boarding. And so I wonder if we need to be asking who is actually responsible and what is a reasonable time frame, because I feel like day 15 is not reasonable.
No.
But that's just me.
I'm with you. One of my kids was telling me a story that just, again, about 2 or 3 days ago, they were riding the bus the bus driver let them off because the stop looked nice and clear. And then they looked around and realized they couldn't go anywhere. They were trapped because they couldn't actually get around the stop and to the sidewalk. The bus driver was lovely and put the ramp back down and said, hey, come get back on. They drove up 10 or 15 feet to wherever and then let them off again at like a driveway where it was cleared. And they were with a friend, so they had some help to get over some of the mounds. But yeah, it's ridiculous. This much later, yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness. Thank goodness.
But yes, we're keeping an eye on it, and it's on my list of things to try to figure out how we could give recommendations. And a big part of the issue is it's the local jurisdictions that are responsible for some of it. But like here in Alexandria, it's residents that are responsible for the sidewalk, including the bus stops.
DC has that problem.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that I'm unclear about. Like, supposedly DCW's supposed to clear the street or the road. Other people are supposed to clear the sidewalk. Some of that's been done, but the road in the center is clear, so you can drive. But boarding and unloading from a bus is impossible.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Maybe it's just a all hands up, I'm not doing that kind of situation. I don't know.
Yep. Well, let's continue that conversation at some point.
Sounds good. Thank you. And thank you both for being here and being open to impromptu chat about our many mutual interests.
This is Matthew. So I just joined the MAAC this past fall. So I'm deaf. I utilize a sign language interpreter and all of that. I had some just curiosity around when you talk about signage, and I'm thinking about as someone that utilizes the metro, but also the bus and all of that is the real time. I love the issue of signage and the audio, but more of the visual, like real time, like, hey, this is what's going on with the train, or this is what's going on with the bus, having that caption in the actual train. You know, we see other cities like New York City having like that real time display of what's going on. You know, oh, there's a delay, or this is our next stop. Or even as we're waiting for stuff. And then even I think in New York City now, they're actually piloting like a combo access pilot where people can get like real-time interpreter to talk to like the Metro Transit staff. So I was just curious about like, has there been any conversations around, you know, especially with DC having such a large and robust, even the DMV area having such a large and robust deaf populations, people that utilize sign language, even just a hearing loss in general, around the signage and how we're doing like real-time captioning or communication. That was like my first question. My second one is, I don't know if you're aware, but the Metro card that we use for both the bus and the train, the disabled Metro card, you can't add it to your phone. So I think it's the only one out of all the different types of cards that WMATA offers that you can't like sync to your phone and pay with your phone as an option should a person want to not use their card. So I didn't know if you were aware of that or if people have a conversation or whatnot.
So both things have been discussed, and actually maybe I can, if you're willing to send us your name and info later, trying to get real-time signage for the deaf and hard of hearing has been another topic that's come up very recently and is going to be a project coming up soon. And I know WMATA is looking for people to give feedback. So if you're willing to participate, you know, I will add your name to the list and send it on to WMATA so that when they put together those like focus groups and stuff, you can be on there. So yes, it's definitely come up. And I remember hearing about the whole card thing, and I know there was a reason for it, but I don't remember what the answer is. Do you remember, Sandy?
So I think the story with the, if you have a card that lets you ride either half price or free because of a disability, they insist that you use that card on the bus and rail and that you don't use a phone app. And I don't quite understand the reason. Like Sarah, I don't know why. But if you're a regular rider, you can choose whether you use a card or a phone app. But it's been a point of contention. Some people who use the discount cards think that's not fair, but Metro's got some hidden reason for tracking and keeping track of stuff, and I don't know what it is. But, you know, digital things may improve with time, especially if people speak up and say, well, why not?
Yeah, I would love to, you know, I definitely can pass my name along around the digital real-time signage or whatever we're calling it. And I wonder if there's a way that maybe we can work together or to bring that conversation up around the Metro card. You know, I think there's a lot of people with different disabilities and we shouldn't have to choose, you know, we should be able to choose how we want to let folks know. Cause you know, even when you tap your card, it's a different colors. So like people will see like, oh, what's this color mean? And could start targeting different people.
Interesting. So there's two options. I mean, Sandy and I can certainly raise it at an upcoming meeting, but we also have a public comment period for all of our meetings. And sometimes it's better if the public shows up and asks the question. It shows that we're not just making these things up, that there's people out there that are actually concerned about a particular topic, or sometimes they're a better advocate for the topic than we are if it's not something that I know a lot about. So we can also let you know, and probably be a bus rail subcommittee meeting, right?
I think it would be a better placed at Matt, if you're a Metro Access rider, it would be better at the Metro Access subcommittee. But if you're just a discounted rider on bus and rail, then it would be appropriate to bring it up at the bus rail subcommittee meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I'm assuming that your website, you'll have like the list of those meetings.
It will, but we can also send it to you. I can follow up with a bunch of information. I will have to run soon. I'm sorry, I have to get to another meeting.
This is super helpful. And I mentioned this to Tino too, like anything that is kind of jointly relevant, we can easily write a letter and pass a resolution and send it on. So like anything that you're working on, I think one thing that he brought up a while ago was for folks with permanent disabilities, not having to reapply to the Metro, through the Metro process. Like I'm not sure, I think it expires every few years or something. That's something that we could easily write a letter and just say, hey, this is kind of an obvious thing that would reduce administrative burden on Metro and also just make it easier on folks with disabilities that use the system. And then similarly too with this, like putting that particular card on the on your phone, like this is something that we could easily write a letter if this is something that like and we can coordinate on message or whatever, and this is a super easy thing for us to do.
So Sarah did have to go because she's got another meeting, but this is Sandy. I can tell you that the proposal to reduce the paperwork burden of eligibility has gone forward. It got revised a bit since Tino shared it with you. It got revised a bit, and we have more background information from other jurisdictions. It's been presented to WMATA and WMATA all the way up to the top of the chain. Randy Clark says, let's get a visibility study done. Let's research how much time this might save, how much money this might save, you know, is this legally viable, blah, 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 blah. So a report will be coming out from the WMATA side, which will then get presented to the WMATA board. The WMATA staff has it in hand and is working on it now.
That's great. Cool.
So I don't know if it would help for you to write any letter at this point, but stay tuned. If we feel that it would be helpful, we could let you know.
Yeah, 100%. And that's just kind of an example of something like this is easy for us, and this is like one of our points of leverage that we can just do. So yeah, definitely keep us posted. Anything that you guys are working on that you'd like us to advocate for, that like we can pass it and send it along.
So can I ask a question? So Sarah and I are volunteers on the Accessibility Advisory Committee at the behest of the WMATA board approves that we can be on this committee.
Mm-hmm.
And we interface with Metro, and we're always trying to encourage Metro to make it the system better for us, better for all.
Yep.
So we have to answer these higher authorities.
Mm-hmm.
What is your group composed of? How do you get composed, and who do you have to answer to?
Yeah. So we're mayorally appointed. It's a 6-member. So there are 3 modal councils that 2 are appointed by 2. So there's a pedestrian advisory council and bicycle advisory council. Each of the representatives are appointed by their respective council member. We're different in that we are mayorally appointed, so there's 6 community seats, 4 are filled right now, for folks in the district with disabilities who have a longstanding interest in making DC transportation more accessible. There are also statutory members from DDOT, supposed to be members from Office of Human Rights and Office of Disability Rights. They haven't shown up in a decent while. And also we have the ability to invite folks from other agencies like DPW and DFHB in the and we have. So that's basically our so we do some work with the other modal councils, and we also participate in performance oversight hearings each year as well. So that's us.
Okay, so at the risk of taking up more of your time, and I don't know how much space
you
have on the agenda.
Yeah, this is great. We actually had like space allocated to talk. So Matthew had brought up, hey, why don't we collaborate with WMATA's advocate councils?
Okay, so I'll explain a little bit more. So Metro has the Accessibility Advisory Committee and a Riders Advisory Committee. So it's the AAC and the RAC. The AAC is composed of 20 members, 6 from Virginia, 6 from DC, 6 from Maryland, and 2 people who work in organizations that support the disability community. So they may not be disabled themselves, but they certainly are advocating for and aware of and interacting with many people with disabilities. So all of the members of the Accessibility Advisory Committee, the 18, 6 from Maryland, 6 from DC, 6 from Virginia, all have either they're a senior, or they have a visual impairment, a hearing impairment, a mobility impairment, and neurological issues. So we're supposed to have, and we have a pretty good spectrum. Right now, we may be a little top heavy on the low vision legal blindness side, but maybe that's just that we're speaking up more than the other members of the committee. I do not know how the Riders Advisory Committee, I think maybe it's a council, I'm not sure what the C stands for, but that survey that Sarah mentioned that is out, that is supposed to represent all riders, bus, rail riders of WMATA. And they collect input from ridership to feed to the board and say, what are the opinions? What are the riders sensing about what's good, what's not good about Metro? And you'll see what they're asking if you take that survey. you know, issues of on-time, reliable, cleanliness, safety, those sorts of things.
That's super helpful. That's super helpful.
I am
Okay.
curious, Sandy, about the rack. Are disabled riders also on that? Because it would seem to me that that would be important.
I don't think so, but don't quote me on that. I think within WMATA, their advice from people with disabilities, those people are on the AAC, the Accessibility Advisory Committee. I could be wrong, but that's my best understanding.
Do you ever feel maybe not as I don't know, listen to I'm just wondering, is the AAC ever feel like their
No.
priorities aren't okay?
No, I really think that they listen to our priorities. And I will tell you that a few things that I have suggested over the past couple of years, actually one thing I suggested even before I was on the Accessibility Advisory Committee, well, MAACDC listened. They changed how they did things.
That's great. That's great.
Are you, if you're a Metro rail rider, in stations that have center platforms, they started putting in digital signs in the middle of the platform. So one side of the sign faces a rail line going, let's say, east, and the other side of the sign faces the rail line going west.
Yeah.
So on both sides of that sign, they put at the top eastbound or westbound, and they put the next train that's coming or the station you're in next. I can't remember which, but then they list all of, they say, okay, Silver Line is next, headed to Largo or whatever. And then they list the next 6 or 8 or 10 stations. I can't remember how many they fit on that sign. And then after that train leaves, they'll put up Orange Line is the next train coming through the station, and they'll list the stations ahead. Those are signs that I can walk right up to, put my nose within 2 inches of it. I can read the sign. When those digital signs were originally put up, the background was light blue, like computer screens often are light blue, with black lettering on it. And one of my vision issues and a vision challenge for many, many people who are low vision and legally blind is that creates too much glare, too much brightness. And so I said, it would be great if you could make these digital signs have a black background with light lettering. And within a couple of weeks, they had started changing them. And
That's great.
I mean, that's a programmable thing, and they have stuck to it. And
Awesome.
it just blows my mind that they would listen and do that.
That's so great to hear. That's so great.
Absolutely.
So it was on those signs, they have as you read across the sign, it has the station name, and then to the right of it, it will have a little symbol that shows what color metro lines are also in that station. So if you need to change to another color line, you know which stations you can do that in. And Sarah and I suggested the other day, and this is, very preliminary, but we said, couldn't you have a symbol that indicates if the elevators are out of service? And just put that on there real time.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I believe they're receptive to this concept, whether, but we will keep pressing that. We will keep saying this would be a really simple real-time thing. It's just programming.
Yeah. That would be brilliant. I think we touched on this earlier, but I think one of the guesses I have is that not every station manager follows the procedure for reporting them, or doesn't do it quickly enough. And so that has a cascade of effects on whether it gets on the web or there are alerts that go out. I used to receive alerts. I think they were text alerts. So I think, you know, I also have always wondered if repeated training on the importance of that, because it's vital. You can't ride if you need the elevator and it's broken, or you're trapped. And so I always wondered if that was, I don't know, if that was conveyed enough to station managers.
And it may be, one time when I was in Metro Center, and I was mostly exploring around. I wasn't in a rush to get my train, but I realized that where they had 3 escalators, and usually, you know, depending on the time of day, 2 go down and 1 come up, and or you know, if they're servicing the middle one, you know, maybe you only have 1 down, 1 up. But I was walking through the station, and by the time I came back around to this set of 3 escalators, I realized that when I had passed it 5 or 10 minutes before, all 3 were moving, but now 1 wasn't moving. So I decided to go talk to the station manager and say, "Hey, what's up? I noticed that it was working a few minutes ago, but now it's not." And she said she didn't know that it was broken. She would go check on it, and I followed her back over, and she literally had to do something to stop something to restart it. So station managers do not know about things necessarily unless people do report it to them.
Sure.
So there's a delay there. You know, yes, they're supposed to be on top of everything in the station, but they can't be 6 places at once and know everything.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, but I'll admit, I have lost track of the time. The many times I've heard, I know it's out, I just haven't got, you know, put up a sign yet, and it'll be hours, like where I've reported it hours before. So I know, you know, but I also know that they're pulled in 10,000 different directions. So, you know, I'm not sure I have answers, but it would be great to explore better solutions.
And Sarah and I and others on the AAC have been pestering them about signage for the pathway to the elevators needs to be clearer.
Yeah,
and that's one of our higher priorities. And
when you brought up L'Enfant Plaza earlier, that's the thing I thought about.
Yeah, Blaze of the Maze. Yeah.
Yes, it is. I still maybe you can answer this question for me, because I was sure there was only 1 elevator up to street level, and somebody corrected me and said, no, there's an elevator that goes up to a courtyard, and then you're stuck in the courtyard. So are there 1 or are there 2 elevators to street level?
I only know 1.
I only know 1 too.
Yeah.
The one on the one across from 7th and Maryland.
Yes.
So yeah.
So, yeah, it's a challenge. But I really do believe Metro's trying hard, and it really does make a difference if you speak up in a public comment, or, you know, if it's something you would like to write a letter to be read at a public comment, or you can submit letters as though it's a public comment to the Metro. We should make sure we get the right email address where you would submit that as a public comment. You can submit public comments anytime you want. So if there's some issue you guys have discussed and you've written a letter, feel free to submit it.
Yeah. This is great. One thing that I think, so there's some overlapping things that I wanted to bring up that I thought we could do some stuff together on. One is curb access. So both for Metro access and for buses, oftentimes they're not able to pull up to the curb because the bus stop is blocked by a car. Is that, or it's just, there's, this is specifically for Metro access, where there's just there's no place. This is what I was saying about pickup drop off. DC has specific zones called PUDO zones, or pickup and drop off areas, that theoretically have like 5-minute parking for people to get dropped off and picked up. But there's not, I don't think there are any ADA exclusive pickup drop off zones where it's specifically allocated, this curbside area is specifically allocated for example, Metro access, or a Lyft or Uber, or a wheelchair accessible vehicle that is dropping off someone who needs direct curb access. Has that come up at AAC?
It's been mentioned that, you know, cars blocking bus drop-off zones have a cascading effect on bus route timeliness. And how does that get enforced? Well, WMATA can't really enforce that. That I don't think they can. I'm not sure who can enforce it.
Well, so one thing that I've thought about and want to bring forward, I've been kind of thinking about the right time to bring that forward, is basically bus lanes are marked in red, and I think you actually get some decent adherence to that. A lot of times there are cars, I think, that are parking in bus stops that don't realize that they're parked in bus stops. But if that's marked in red on the road itself, you have better adherence. So that's a proposal to DDOT of basically saying, like, this is something that we will paint the road or paint the bus stop so that no cars actually park there.
Is that something where you would advocate for painting the PUDOs, pickup drop-off zones also?
That would also be, so we don't have any ADA only pickup drop-off zones. We've advocated for that in the past, but we definitely like, and that's why we want to speak to DDOT Curbside Management. They're the DDOT organization that manages all parking. So that's just kind of a separate ask, but I think this one is just making sure that that people know, cars know, that they absolutely should not be stopping or standing at a bus stop. And one way to do that is with red paint.
Okay. So the Metro access vehicles, they don't necessarily stop at ADA pickup drop off, to my knowledge. They
can't actually, because there are none. And this is one reason, especially downtown, where there's just like, you know, there's general parking pretty much everywhere downtown, which is kind of crazy. When we did our principles of arterial street space usage, general parking is the absolute last priority. ADA, there should be an ADA pickup drop off zone on every block, especially mid block, for in the downtown core and everywhere else as well. But for Metro access in particular, like, this seems like an obvious thing that could benefit a lot of riders of Metro access, and really anyone who needs direct curbside access, to have a lot more ADA pickup drop off zones, or have some at least, and really a lot.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Mostly people have complained about the abilities ride, taxis, Ubers, Lyfts, the sort of the add-on to Metro access rides. You can get an abilities ride if you're capable of negotiating if you don't absolutely have to have door-to-door, somebody walking you to the door or wheeling your wheelchair to the door, then, and if you can see well enough to, manage your phone for, like, this is when the vehicle is coming, this is, the information, the abilities ride drivers are not required to drop you right at there's nothing that says they have to drop you right exactly in front of the door. They try, but they don't always succeed. And if there's no convenient place to pull up near right in front of the store you're trying to go into, they may go to halfway down the block where they can pull in and stop, pause safely for you to get out. So yeah, something like pickup drop-off locations would be a big assist if they existed, and taxis and Ubers and Lyfts knew they existed, as well as Metro Access. Yeah, but it's a good future plan.
Yeah, that's something that I think would, I mean, that is something that I think we might be able to kind of collaboratively do. We could come up with a proposal, and then kind of we send it to DDOT, but also, like, you know, if we send it to y'all, if you can kind of back us up on something like that.
Right.
I think it's kind of an obvious thing that can and should be done that benefits a lot of people.
Okay, we're getting into tricky territory. Yes, you can certainly recommend stuff to us. I blah, 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 blah. I don't want to get myself in trouble, and I don't want to get you guys in trouble. I mean, collaborating and discussing things in a general sense makes, I have permission from the AAC chair to talk about general things, but not to talk about the exact details of the negotiations and whatever.
Sure. Or just in general, like, I think what we'll do, like, this is of interest to us, and we'll forward it, like, and this is just so that you're aware of, this is something of interest to us. If that is something that is also upon discussion with the AAC, with the rest of the AAC, like, if this is of interest to you all as well, you know, we could talk about some jointly writing something, or we could write something and then send it to you, and you can kind of write your own or something like that. Whatever.
We can always, you know, put it in, like I said, to public comment and say, listen, this group over here, who's, you know, working for the mayor of DC, this group is trying to convey information to you, and we can always put it through the public comment channels, and then discuss it and say, we agree with it. You know, this is a great idea.
Because I think just if people hear from kind of multiple angles, that it's like, hey, it is actually a problem. Like, you know, for example, Metro Access pulling up to the curb and not being able to pull up to the curb at most locations, you know, in the district, which is, my guess is it's actually true, is like, it's actually quite painful to pull up to the curb, and actually get someone on the curb. Like, just hearing that from someone else saying, like, hey, this is a problem that we need to fix, would be useful. And then similarly, like, you know, buses, the perennial problem of buses not being able to pull up to the curb, that's a problem as well, that I'd like to see like real solutions to, in a way that we have not, for decades we have not. So just like hearing that this is a problem, is good, that affects people.
And that's obviously a problem for WMATA buses as well as DC buses.
Actually, the circulator gone now. There are only WMATA buses that go through DC. So
okay.
So
I'm trying to, you know, be sure that I have the list of things that Sarah and I need to send you. She's better at taking notes than I am, but I think we need to send you the list of the, let's call it leadership, because we have a chair, first vice chair, second vice chair of the AAC. We have a chair, first vice chair, second vice chair of the bus rail subcommittee, BRS, and we have a chair, first vice chair, second vice chair of MAS, Metro Access Subcommittee. So depending on the topic, you would want to send it to the chair, and, well, literally, actually, you could send it to all 9 simultaneously, because, you know, sometimes people lose things in their email and don't notice it, and doesn't come to their attention, and another person might pick up on it and say, hey, pay attention. This is important.
Yep.
So we'll send you that. And what else did we promise to send you?
I think the rack survey was another thing.
Great.
And I'm wondering, would it make sense for kind of a swapping of I don't know how this works from your end, but if we added you to our list about or email about this is the next meeting, this is the topic kind of thing, that way whoever from the AAC would be interested could join or feel free to join at their leisure, and vice versa. If we did that for our members for your meetings, maybe that would help facilitate some cross discussion or public comment as you need it at your meetings.
That would be great, and I would say send it to the AAC leadership, the 9 people. We don't. Somebody from within Metro facilitates our AAC meetings, so they send us the Zoom link invitation. However, we are always welcome to pass that along to the public, and I pass it along to people who are interested all the time. But so we can forward that to you also if you give us the appropriate email address to send that to.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would not be coming from WMATA per se, but it would be coming from us on the AAC.
That's totally fine.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be fantastic. Cool. I mean, I think we've got a great, we've established connection. We've kind of learned about each other. I think this is a great forward movement. Matthew, or anyone else kind of want to chime in before we kind of close out this part of the discussion? We just have kind of a few more minutes left. Okay, great. Well, yeah, Sandy, thank you so much for taking the time, and Sarah, and please tell Sarah we really appreciated her time as well. Hopefully we can continue talking and kind of take an action and kind of move it forward a little bit.
And Sarah is not only on the Accessibility Advisory Committee for Metro, I think she's gotten herself involved in transportation issues in Alexandria. So she's she's a go-getter.
That's great. That's what we like to hear.
Okay. And what email address should Sarah and I send stuff to let you know?
So it's info@maacdc.org. So it's info@maacdc.org.
Right. Okay. I think, yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We're really excited to continue the discussion.
And I will have to thank Tino for opening this door. Although at the time he opened the door, some of us on the AAC were like, Tino, you can't be sending out draft proposals before we've had a chance to discuss it or approve it. That's not fair. So, but
we're on the same team, so
yeah.
He's enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. The end goal is good. The details of how you get there can be a little confusing. All right, I'll stop talking. I'm sorry, I'm taking up too much time. But thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Perfect. So next on the agenda, just a kind of acknowledgement of Kelly, who's going to testify at DPW tomorrow.
Yes.
I will also be there in a personal capacity with DC Families for Safe Streets, talking about this GEAR Act. So I will be on the same panel with you, and I'll give you a bump up as well.
Great. And vice versa.
So looking forward to that. This is breaking news. That in past years, we have been, MAAC itself was had a performance oversight hearing, and BAC and PAC would kind of all three of the councils would have a performance oversight hearing. But now we're actually lumped in together with DDOT, which is actually quite good, because they've asked us, instead of doing performance oversight over MAAC itself, they were just asking us to give testimony about DDOT. That will happen on February 18th. so I will send a draft out. I'll circulate it out to the rest of the group, and then folks can add and subtract, and we can have a Google Doc for testimony. Then the last thing on the agenda was kind of community outreach and recruitment update. This was yeah, Matthew, have you given any thought to this kind of community outreach that we had talked about, of kind of increasing the number and breadth of people who are coming to our meetings?
Well, when I had the conversation last week, when I was talking about the treasurer, we were talking about like social media and increasing our social media presence. I think that would be something that we can think about, and leveraging that platform,
Totally.
depending on how robust and trying to get some followers, and really just being able to share that message across all the different communities, even like we just talked with AAC and WMATA.
Yep.
And all of that. So I think that is a start.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we can potentially, once the weather is warmer, maybe we can have since we do have some fun, maybe we can host something, maybe like a community
meeting,
grab some coffee, community hangout type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Encourage people to swing by and meet us, get to know us. That could be something simple, just like, hey, let's just have some coffee. We can find a place that accessible and all that kind of good stuff. So those are I think those are the two, let's start small with it and
That's
see.
Great. I think that's great.
I think, what can people do? Because I don't think people realize that it's all virtual. So,
Mm-hmm.
It's something they could do, pop on or send a comment, how do we meet those digital age young people? Yeah. So I used to typewriter growing up, so all those kind of things. But yeah, I think that would probably be a good start. Is maybe increase their social media presence and tagging and following the other groups that are on there, and then start from there. Yeah,
that sounds great. Yeah, we can continue talking about it. I've got a meeting with NAO next Friday that yeah, we can maybe we can talk about that together as well. I'll email you and we can go from there. But I think this is a great start.
Question: did we hear back from the Center for Independent Living?
I don't. I'm so sorry. I do have to hop off. I have another call. But I'm looking forward to all of the emails and stuff from this meeting tonight. It was really greatly informative. But I just want to let you know I do have another call that I have to hop on.
Cool.
Have
a good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Night.
I don't remember. I have not heard from anyone from Center for Independent Living.
I know we've tried a few times to get someone from the organization involved, and I really wish I knew how to make that happen.
Yeah. This is a good question. I think let's keep talking about it.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Karthik.
All right.
Karthik.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Yes.
I'm late. I thought it was a different time. But anyway, I'm sorry. I wish I could have been on time. The one thing that you may be interested in is Tom Pay's way map. Have you talked to him yet?
Tom. Oh, not yet.
Okay.
That would be great. Thanks, Tino. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
In 30 seconds, I can tell you, he came to our meeting on Monday, and they're working on app 2.0. They're working with NYU to fix some things. It should be ready around April, but of course that means May or June.
Sure.
And the one thing that we've been interested in all these years is can accommodate wheelchair users, and it still cannot, but they're working on
Mhm.
that. So
Okay.
those are the two things that I think are important that unfortunately I couldn't talk at length with you about, but those two things.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And actually, I'm not sure when you joined, Tino, but we had a great conversation with Sarah and Sandy just now. So, so yeah, I'm excited to to do some real collaboration soon.
Sure. Yeah. I'm glad you met them.
Yeah,
Okay. Next
cool.
time I'll remember your meetings are 5:30 to 7.
5:30 to 7, exactly.
Yeah. Uh, okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
Bye bye now.
Thank
Bye.
you. Yes, we are actually over time, but I think we can go ahead and adjourn. If there's, unless there's anything urgent that folks want to bring up. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for a great February 2026 meeting. We will see you on the second Wednesday of March next month. And yeah, thanks again. Have a great month.
Thanks. Good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
unknown caller.